Welcome, welcome. Hello, you're alive and awake. Oh, okay. You feeling better? It's good. Yeah. We shall see. And we also have a Joey with us who's not with us currently, but will be with us soon. He just exited screen left, so we'll be hopefully see him soon. How are you? How are things? Has the bot done the thing yet? The bot. Nope. Nope, the bot hasn't done anything yet. Hasn't passed around. Hmm. Yes, I can see Facebook is running smoothly now. Welcome, welcome. What is a star? Well, we have some people. We have some people coming in. All right. Welcome, welcome. Tonight we're doing deck building 103, finishing up the last little bit of our deck building series, going into some specifics after you've played your deck and used your deck for a bit. And then Joey's here with us as well to hang out and also to chat about Genesis things. I feel like all right, let's start how we always start, Alex. What have you been playing? Oh, wow. Good. Good.
Muted.
That's
Really,
the way I
what?
like it. Alex is muted. That's the whole point.
Oh,
It's just I'm too many levels ahead of you guys. I have to mute Alex because he always talks through the intro, and this time I forgot to unmute him.
Wow, so it's so unprofessional. This with this Will guy. So again,
was
you
that
know what?
Seraphis that you were playing, Alex?
Sorry?
Was that Seraphis that you were playing?
Yeah, I was playing Seraphis.
Yeah, he's been having fun. Like he's just trying to craft as many meme decks as possible because he's just blown away that that's a thing
Yeah.
that you could do. It was funny because he did it with me, and like he just brought out 50 Gilded Stags, and then we were talking about like the Ossel and why it was just better, just because you can get more of them out.
Yep.
And eventually he realized I was like, that's weird that a common. Okay. He was having a lot of fun.
Oh. Yeah, no, so he was playing a very fun deck. Like, same thing, it's sort of meme-ish decks. His whole goal was he walked up to you into melee with Tashir. Step one. He then would snare you to healing fire the snare and himself. So that you'd be sitting on a snare with lots of health. Now, unfortunately, I was running a Kasha.
Healing fire.
No, I don't know if it was Kasha, not Kasha.
How are you healing? He's not healing you.
No, so he's targeting the snare.
Yeah, snare, yeah.
And himself.
Yeah, Steve has been running that deck for a while.
Yeah. But still. And then I was running Blood Tornadoes. So he was never gonna work.
Oh no.
And then I don't remember what our second game was, but I was playing Shun Control, which was like Nullifies and Waves of Deaths. And I think he was playing a Summon Titan style deck.
Ouch.
So it's a big summon came at me. Same thing, healing fire sort of thing. Play a summon, healing fire it. Summon charged me, and I went Wave of Death. I was like, oh, yeah. So I just ended up countering every deck he was playing.
Oh no. Oh, I'm sure he had fun.
Yeah, it was still fun.
Just remember we had fun.
What'd you play, Will?
Didn't get a chance to play last week.
Wow, what a
Just
guy.
busy as always. But hopefully this week I'll get to play. I was going to go to Forbes, but it started at 10, and I was checking out the information at 9:30. I'm like, well, not gonna make it to Forbes at that time, so
Oh,
I decided not to bother going out there. And then just trying to finish my house, so not a lot of card games happening over here.
mm,
But
Fair enough.
we're almost done. Very close.
nice. Is this a move or are you just redecorating?
Just renovating the place. Yeah. So
Cool. Nice.
bit of a big project. I'm getting some connection issues here. Might be on my end, but the ad played just fine.
Yeah, if somebody else can tell us if there's if there's lag or anything.
Not seeing anything on my end
Yeah, it seems to be okay from
as
here.
far as bit rates, outputs, frames per second. Nothing dropped.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, Joey, you playing games lately?
Yes ish. I gotta build up Sarah deck because I'm doing Tavern Brawlers League and I said I was gonna play Sarah. So I actually gotta put one together real quick. Because I was like, all right.
So it sounds like we're building a Sarah deck tonight,
We don't
Will.
have to.
No, we're building a Sarah deck for Joey tonight.
we are
All right.
building a deck tonight. We might
building a
build
deck tonight.
we could build Joey's deck and
Let's just
push him
build
to
Joey a
the
deck.
push him into
Okay.
second like we did last time.
I will. All right, because I haven't built it yet. I will play whatever gets built, good or but like whatever crap you want to do. I will commit to playing that, which I'm asking for trouble. I know that. But anyway, so I did that. However, the real sweetheart was I ran Bazin's House of Horrors on Wednesday.
Okay.
I went to a game shop that I walked in and they said, yeah, we're not looking at a card game. Like, we're not looking at card games. I was like, good, because I'm running a
Yay.
board game. I'm like, I'm gonna run a board game.
Nice.
So yeah, I had a couple people pop in and play Bazin's House of Horrors, and everyone around was like, what the hell is that? And we want a part of it. So everybody in the room asked me to bring it back, which will happen tomorrow. And then the owner of the shop and then the buyer for the shop both were like, all right, talk about your product line. Because whatever that was real cool. And it was a board game night. So not a single one of them, not a single person there was a card gamer. None of them played card games. None of them were interested in card games. And I was like, oh, so I'm really trying. Because I like the whole reason I was really excited about Bazin's was so I could tap into non-TCG market people. And this is like a new store who's like real interested. So if I can land a store purely off of that, that'd be real cool. But we also had a heck of a lot of fun. And I also screwed up and accidentally gave whoever was playing along. I got my sleeve screwed up. So I gave whoever was playing along the Iblis deck. And
Okay.
I didn't realize until like way late. Like I didn't realize until way later that was like, oh, there's an issue because they were just playing. Was it Thymos? Whatever y'all was.
Bellum, yeah.
Bellum.
Yeah.
They're just playing Bellum cards, and then suddenly like they bring out a Shield Major. I'm like, wait, that doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right at all. And that sucks for Long because Long's just like, I'm healing everybody, and you're gonna rotate. And the Iblis deck is made to like appreciate not a lot of resources, and Long has a lot more resources. Like I got murdered. I got absolutely destroyed. But whatever, they had fun.
Nice. That's always
They
cool.
had fun. By round 2, they had the mechanics figured out. By round 3, they were like talking lines of play and how they were gonna like work with each other to do different things. And people were like popping over and like, what is this? I'm like, you guys are working your life out, so I'm gonna tell you what's going on over here. And they cracked some packs and they pulled a double volley of arrows pack.
Oof.
God, that sucked. Especially because I switched the Long deck afterwards. I was like, oh well, now it's in that, and you've got range. So yeah, that was a little rough.
Venturecraft, if you're still having issues on Twitch, it seems that YouTube and Facebook are working. You could swap over there.
Yeah, I
don't know if
just
there's anything we can do on our
checked
end.
my connection. I'm running 250 up, 250 down, as always. So
Yeah, I've got the stream up also on YouTube. So all right.
it might be the Twitch thing, but so Hopefully it gets figured
Beers
out.
and
Yeah,
cheers, guys.
there you go.
Not to rub in
Cheers.
anything hockey related, but like
Cheers.
that's all right. I got water.
Joey has a saying for water. What's the saying? You don't cheers water or something.
you don't cheers water. You cheers water.
Just did. You're gonna come from Colorado and hunt me down?
Sure. Whatever.
Um.
Oh yeah. So anyway, that's what I played, and tomorrow I get to me and a buddy are actually going to run 2 tables at the same time,
Nice.
which was real fun, which was real cool.
So
yeah, we'll see.
how do you find the reception to it being a board game? I'm gonna
find it
ask some
really-
questions.
Yeah. So the reception has been really good playing it out that way, just because I lead in with the fact that it's a collaborative experience.
Right.
So that takes down the intimidation from people's like, I'm learning a card game, and nobody thinks they're learning a card game the second I show off the rules. That's kind of the beauty of Genesis, is it's a card game until you sit down. So once I start showing that off, Bazin goes first in Bazin's House of Horrors, so they get to see kind of a turn happen anyway.
Okay.
Which is really nice. So far, every test that I've had, they've had the basic mechanics figured out by round 2, and they've been strategizing by round 3. And that's been with 4 different groups of board gamers or D&Ders. So it's been cool, and it's been really fun. Like they've really liked it because it's something they've never seen before.
And
they
then,
love like I had a whole bunch of different units, because that's not even something you really get in D&D, is like a
Right.
bunch of different units that you can control. That's like my job. So they really like that element. They really love the board control stuff. They really like playing long and like just rampaging, toss things out of the way.
right. Right.
So that sucked. My first time I ever tried it, I had a territorial Bala that was thrown around 5 times before he died on the same stack. I was like, this sucks.
Sometimes you gotta throw the bear around.
It was rough. That was also the one where I think Alex, you and I were joking that I had adrenaline in the long deck because I just wanted to put an 8. And like, what the heck are you doing with an adrenaline? And then in Toronto, they pulled an adrenaline from one of their packs. I think it was like Shrock, actually. Sup, Shrock. They pulled an adrenaline, put it in a Long's deck, and that was actually the deciding factor in the game.
Wow.
Was like
See?
the round was over and I was getting ready to just put Alt in a real bad spot, and then like Long just boop. I'm gonna go poke the bear for 1 and kill it. Like that was my whole strategy, you jerk. But no, it's been really, really cool to see everybody gravitate and literally not think about it as a card, like not even think about it as a card game at all.
So
It just never comes up.
do you approach the subject of it is a card game afterwards that you can do 1v1, or do you just kind of leave it at, yeah, that's a
I start that the product is a TCG. Like, this is a card game, but what I'm going to have you experience is like kind of a static, cool little board game style to see just what you think of the mechanics.
Mm.
And then I kind of go from there. And like by the end of it, it's like, yeah, I can absolutely see myself playing this. And then they kind of see like Encounter 2, they really, Encounter 2 is also really fun because you get that like Alta gets shoved, she gets stuck in the middle for a round. So she's stuck in the middle of the arena, and whoever like Alta's required to play, so whoever's playing Alta's like, I can't do much, and then they just get destroyed. But like the rest of the team is like, all right, guys, we gotta go get her. And like you're not as a card game, you're like, who cares? But like as a board gamer in D&D, it's like, all right, we gotta go save her.
right.
So they really get into the flavor of it. It's been a really fun experience.
Cool.
So, and it works. It's like it's getting them want to play more, and neat. I'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll see how far down the line it goes as far as like, hey, people want to do competitive or whatnot. But if I can get the game in stores, I'll take it in any way, and I'll trickle people over to competitive after.
If that is what they
Mhm.
if they can see that line, right? Like if it's not competitive and it is just like a
Mhm.
fun PvE, co-op thing that they do,
Mm-hmm.
they may just like that and just play it for
Mhm.
that, right?
Yeah, they can, because I'll tell the store afterwards. Like I run it like it's built like D&D Encounters is,
Right.
where like I can come in, everything like the initial decks are static, So all I have to do is like I can just pay like $10 to have this game run for me, like what D&D would be. And they get everything, but that can go to like pack. Like the upgrade system is through booster packs, so like that money they pay kind of goes to packs.
Right.
So you tell the store like, hey, this is kind of a cool way to do some product churn. Like you're churning through product in the process and letting people like build a collection slowly, and then like, okay, that's real cool. Like I really like that, and that's what's been kind of hitting home with those stores that like don't want card games because like I don't want this thing on the shelf. It's like, what if I told you that your board gamers can slowly sift through product and not even realize they're doing it?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then yeah, we pop into casual. The casual stories have been really fun to like tell them.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that given the current, atmosphere within TCGs, and given how this year is going to have some interesting moments, I think is a way I'm reflecting on it as, games like Sorcery finally probably ship and come out. And
They're
then
packaged.
We have Lorcana is rumored to be coming out at the Q3 this year, and
August 18th, I think, for them.
and then you have Lord of the Rings Magic is going to be turning people's heads, I think, a little bit, as well as other Magic products that come out on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think Lord of the Rings is one of those ones that's starting to really show where their head are at, right? So
Hey, they made the paper NFT, right? The one of one ring.
The one of one,
one
right?
of one ring. For reasons.
So I think it's interesting the PvE where it places Genesis, as far as maybe we kind of allow the focus on those card games and TCGs to be on that spot, and maybe PvE or adjusting, how we bring it into stores like you are doing.
Yeah, like the casual angle has been getting us kind of in the door, because if you're not dealing with like Magic Commander, that is just it's very casual, but like that they really like that casual scene, or it's something like a Flesh and Blood that is overly competitive. But the other cool angle to it is that a lot of the challenges that we've been getting from stores also is like, this is another card game and it's saturating my card game audience. Well, cool. What if I took all of that away? And just kind of popped in as like a fun little second side game for people. And like, okay, actually, and it works out pretty well. So we're trying a couple things. Like it's working. We've gotten some cool stores face to face giving us a shot. I was really excited about that one.
Yeah, that's pretty big for Canadian folks. Face to faces are, that's probably the biggest. Alex, would that be the biggest card game?
Yeah, most likely.
Mover, shaker, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, but we got Little Store in California kind of looking. We got Kansas, Florida, Seattle showed up out of nowhere. We're getting little pockets. We're getting more little pockets. It's nice.
Yeah, so I mean, we can go a couple different ways with the conversation. We can continue and talk about delays and what that means, and how what you're seeing, the pockets, and what's sort of the headed, or we can wrap up our deck building series. How are you with us for the whole time, Joey? Or
yeah, I'll be with you guys for the whole time. So how about this? How about you guys, just because let's wrap up that deck building series and go for it. But in the meantime, if anybody has any questions or anything in chat about like the delays or anything they want to talk about, I can kind of log those down, and we can do that with kind of the rest of the time.
Sounds good.
And if we get time, I'll show the fun thing.
Yes, yes. Cardboard Cohorts wants me to talk about Yaksha again, but it was really because he wanted to get that summon into the game. Yeah, well, maybe.
Well,
there's time.
We'll get some Yaksha talk. Some of the other designers wanted to, they wanted to ban that Yaksha. They almost did. Will was fighting for you there.
Yeah,
he was your paladin.
It was not going to get banned that fast.
It almost did. It almost did.
Oh man.
We made it work. We made some tweaks. I mean, we made a lot of tweaks. It's very different now than it was, but it works, and we're gonna see how it goes. But yeah, Yaksha is awesome. All right, wrapping up our series on deck building. So if you're just tuning in and you haven't checked out the other portions of it, first, deck building 101, kind of the basics. How do we approach decks? What types of decks? Archetypes of decks? Things that we've seen, things that we've built. What are the champions? Looking at stats, all those things. You can go back, watch that. second last week's episode, we talked about the math. You know, how many of a card do you want? What are the numbers? What are you looking at when you're looking at, okay, here's my stats. Okay, I need to have 50 cards. What am I doing with those 50 cards depending on the champion I'm using?
Mhm.
So tonight, I kind of want to just wrap up the whole idea coming full circle by actually building a deck live with Alex and Joey, and also just looking at a little bit about like how do we, once we have a deck or once we played a deck for a while, how do we go about changing or making modifications, or what do we look at when we're sideboarding within our decks as far as like how do we shore up certain challenges or
Mhm.
certain counters that might be there. So let's start there. So before sideboarding, or what we call forethoughting, was a thing, your deck just ran 50 cards and you had to kind of be ready for everything. And Alex and I remember those times as you had a single deck, 50 cards, and if you had to sort of spread out your cards or at least have a very strong game plan in order to counteract most things.
Yeah.
And then I think one of the biggest complaints was because there's the OTK was there at that time. There was, you know, Alex's Spellcaster, which turned into Nubia Burn eventually, deck. And then we had, you know, we didn't really have a lot of variety. They were all very aggressive, no real control decks at that point.
Yeah.
But the issue was that this OTK deck, there was a few cards that allowed you to counter it hard, but you just could never fit them in, because if you put all of them in to just go against the OTK deck, you would lose to pretty much everything else.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Just because it's not really a conversation I've ever really had of what kinds of things and mechanics would you put into consider a control deck?
So we talked a little bit about that on episode 1.
All right.
Basically, for me, control aspects are more the board control. You're going to gain advantage on board by, you know, something like a simple thing would be like a Death Eater would be a control E card because it comes down, it kills something. So ideally, you will have more turns than your opponent on the next round.
Okay.
Or, you know, you're controlling how they play, like a Malefic Impalement may stop them from doing something, or, you know, the classic negate cards. The only problem with our negate cards, well, not problem, the only difference with our negate cards in Genesis is that you have to be so close. So you have to be aggressive in your movement to control what they're playing.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
But normally, yeah, so I would say control ends up being less about, haha, you can't play, more about, okay, this is what you've played, now I'm going to outvalue you. And I'm going to make it so that you don't get the value, right? So if you think about, so certain deck types can switch, and this is what Alex brought up, about how when you're playing a deck, you can be a little bit control-y, and then it can go more aggressive depending on how you've built it. But like the idea, you know, when we've played, you know, you brought some big summons down and then they never hit me because I've moved or positioned myself in order to make sure that they're gone. So I'm controlling what they do, kind of thing.
Okay.
And how they interact.
Got it. All right. So it's like it's maneuverability.
Yeah.
One way. Be that through just having more turns in general, or various mechanics to get you around the board or get them around the board.
Yeah, and the value, I keep coming back to the word, like you're evaluating or you're gaining value some way. Kind of like, yeah, Cohort says, you know, an aggro control mix kind of. But yeah, normally like Chrono Walkers are normally involved in control aspects of the game because they.
I'll give an example. I literally talked about my Shun control deck. So it runs Waves of Death, just so the point of the deck is to constantly be draining each turn. And if my opponent plays summons, that's fine. They're just going to die to kill spells. I'm not stopping them from playing summons. I'm not stopping those summons from coming in. But once they come in, they die. And I'm trying to always be neutral on resources in this specific deck, because I will always outvalue if you're losing 2 and I'm gaining 2 each turn.
Okay. So it's probably even less maneuverability, but more like board value. just
Yes.
straight
Board
board
value.
value.
Board value, yeah.
Okay. I can connect to something like that pretty easily actually. So I can push that.
So tonight, so basically back then you had to prepare your deck for everything. Eventually we brought in the forethoughting, and since then we've now been able to see more streamlined decks. Now you could argue that forethoughting has presented, Nubia burn and given it sort of a boost, because the Nubia player can just now go, okay, I'm going all out because I'll just readjust on my, on the sideboarding. But I would say that the majority of decks gained a benefit having a few extra cards that they can bring in. And we've definitely seen some cards that really shine in that sideboarding slot, right?
Would you say, I'm kind of a dumb question, I guess. Would you say it was a net benefit to the game? Or would you be like, I don't know, I kind of wish we had not forethoughts?
It was a net benefit to the competitive side of the game.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah.
The casual side, I'd say most players are too lazy to bother doing it.
And it doesn't really matter because usually casual,
just my chickens for more chickens.
Just play whatever you want, right? It's your sideboarding. But for the competitive, it definitely pushed the competitive in a spot where you could be like, okay, I'm not going to get blown out. I actually have a chance, and I can actually prepare and level the playing field a little bit.
Was there ever a time where the game was best 1-1 instead of 2 out of 3?
No.
Okay.
Never.
Sometimes in limited, it's best of 1, but.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so looking at just kind of as a brief idea, so if you're a summoner deck, and then we'll just kind of go through the 3 main types: summoner, spellcaster, and fighter. Do you, or I kind of want to throw this out there, are you looking to, as a summoner, are you looking to move away from a summoner deck when you're sideboarding? Are you looking for specific summons that are coming in and switching out? And then we can kind of, Alex, what do you say to, if you're a summoner deck and you're sideboarding, what are you looking at?
If you're a summoner switching out, you usually have specific summons. So like a lot of things I like to look at is like the Baruch versus death companions.
Okay.
If you face them and then you're like, oh, they don't have any aerial damage, bring in death companions.
No range, no areas. Yep. The new one there also is the Naga Cobra. You can kind of bring that in a little bit if you want to play with. They're like, oh, you have no energy reduction. Okay, maybe I'll hit you with a Cobra.
There's also the monkey. If they're doing all AOE's, you can bring the monkeys in.
So you're looking at changing basically your main setup, your summons. You're trying to find another summon that kind of helps, right? Because again, the triangle there, a spellcaster should have a bunch of big spells or AOE spells. So you're going to be your summoner decks are going to be weaker against the spellcasters. So you want to shore up some way of countering those spellcasters, right? Now, if you're a spellcaster and you're going up against, say, a fighter, right? The energy there is supposed to win out over the aura. So in that case, what types of things are we looking for in a spellcaster sideboard?
So in the spellcaster sideboard, you're usually just balancing a little bit more versus multiple matchups. So if you know you're going to be facing fighters, you're usually going to bring in more summons, whether they be Chrono Walkers or LMs, because they don't really stop your game plan. They just can get in the way, body block, give you more time.
Yeah, the LM is great, right? Because it gives you the draw. It allows you to keep up on resources in hand.
Yeah.
So that's always a good one to look at.
And then versus the summoner, you usually have extra AoEs in the sideboard to bring in more.
Yeah.
So it's usually just
if you're facing against a range, or if you're facing against like a fighter, do you care? Like, does range matter to you, or do you just want chump blockers? It doesn't really matter where they are.
It can matter. Like if an opponent's playing an all range deck, it can have an effect.
Like I'm going back to the Lost Star. I'm going back to the Lost Star circuit where it was basically Rope Tornado Kun versus Core, and he countered Chris countered by spreading things out.
It's not common that the sideboard is filled with long range summons specifically for that matchup. Because usually if players are playing the long range summons, that's usually one of their core summons to begin with.
That's fair. That makes sense.
But to that point, I mean, one of the things in the triangle is that the summoner should beat the fighters. So if you are up against a fighter, bringing some summons in that keep your game plan going is a definite way to get some chip damage in, because usually the fighters have a little bit more health, right?
Yeah.
The other one that, like, if your fighter is very fast or kind of going all out and you're looking at, and you're a spellcaster, you can always look at the protections as well. Protective spells on you, either like holy walls, those types of things, protected by faiths. Usually those are already in a little bit, because you normally have a little bit lower health than the rest of the pool, but and then fighters, for me anyways, for fighters, you're worried about the summoners, so you're looking to bring in something that either controls those summons, stops those summons, maybe be snares, or extra movements, evasives, or something that, you know, was very effective for Fong for a while was you know, hurricane sweeps or something like to that effect, where you can hit multiple spots, maybe put yourself in a position to get surrounded, and then you kind of, you know, end of the round, take them all out, and now the board's back to being balanced. Those types of things. But
Yeah, I'd agree with fighter. I don't think there's much else to go there. I always think movement and evasion or more AoE. It's really just the three focus points for the fighter.
Yeah. So that again, sideboarding is not always the easiest thing, and you have to really know your deck's weaknesses, and also know what your play groups are playing, right? If you're looking at what your groups are doing, if they're not switching decks, if they're playing the same deck, you can kind of get some benefits or get some ideas to how to benefit your deck from your play group.
I never know what Smetch is playing. They keep changing every time. They built like 40 decks, and I never know what it is. And then every time I come in, it's like, oh, you should see what we cooked up. I'm like, no, let's see what I played last week. I was ready for that.
One of the cards that definitely I think needs to be brought to people's attention for this year is Away. It's something that I think
I've been thinking about Away.
Will be definitely a card to at least have on your radar. Look at figuring out if you are in Axon, you know, figure out where this fits, either sideboard or main board. But it does a lot of things, and it's pretty cheap at what it's doing. And the resource game, I think, as we move forward, is always going to be one of those ways to try to, you know, eke some or sort of squeak out some advantage. But yeah.
You feel like everyone's just looking at it, like, all right, how do I beat the angel deck?
Well, I mean, Away probably would have done very good. It would have been very effective.
Yep.
Because they can only cast the angel so many times, and yeah, would have been.
That's a random question, because I don't know and if it came up, then shut me up. But like after Worlds, did you guys ever kind of come up with the deck? It's like, all right, here's how we would have dealt with angels. Like, have you guys kind of cracked, like, all right, if we see the exact same deck snicker, which you know you won't, but like, this is what we're bringing to beat Angel, Air Force 10.
I think after championship, me and Will took a break from doing mine.
Yeah, fair. I think Sony would talk about it.
But yeah, I mean, it was, yeah, Away was one of the first things. Looking at the realization that Malefic Impalement doesn't hit an angel, that definitely bit me in the butt and in my matchup against Ollie.
Doesn't? Oh, I gotta look that up. I'm staring at. Oh crap! No, it doesn't.
And
That's
then
wild.
the idea of just looking at, okay, if they're going to be protecting a big thing, how can you make their big thing go away, or make all their resources be like null, right? Nullify them. So
makes sense.
But the other part that I wanted to sort of talk about a little bit is, how do you optimize a deck after you've built it and you say, okay, I've built this deck. Sometimes when I build a deck, it just doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't work that first match, but then it starts working afterwards, because new deck, you're not really sure what you're looking for or when to play what. But after you've done a few tries and you're like, okay, I like this deck, but I'm still, you know, it's not working very well against this matchup, or it's not working very well when the game went long, or it's something else is like just not there. How do you go about optimizing your deck?
Let me confirm the question. How do you go optimizing your deck? After the games are done.
Yeah, you've played a bunch of games.
Okay.
You go out to a local.
Okay, this is
play a whole
good.
bunch of games.
I'm good.
Yeah.
You're good. It's so simple. It does require you to do things when your game's finished. Is A, look at the resources when your games end. If all your games end and you ended with like 70 aura in every single game, you need to put more aura in your deck. Same thing with energy. If you're running out of energy, you have too much energy in the deck. But more specifically, when you are playing the deck, when there are cards you draw and you like, I drew this card, there's probably a problem that card's in your deck. Specifically, if you played it multiple times through multiple different games and you keep having that feeling, there's something wrong with that being in your deck if you don't like it. And sometimes this is just like personal preference. Like I've seen a lot of people stop using pressure points and shutdowns, but for me, that's still a staple. But a lot of the games have started to become more range battles, so there's not as many people in your face. So I understand why people, while they're playing them, no longer like those cards, and that's sort of the same thing as balancing, knowing the meta, knowing your community. If your community is only playing range stuff, and you're only playing close combat defenses, you gotta swap them out.
Yep.
Yeah, that's actually good. That's actually a good note about like what are the resources left over. That's something I've struggled with not for the original ones. It's like I'm not doing enough damage, and I have like way too many cards in the deck.
So one of the things that I was realizing with the deck, and we kind of mentioned this actually last week, was I have the Tashir deck where I'm running 4 diving jukes, but at the end of the match I have 30 some odd aura left, so I'm going to take those diving jukes out, and I'm actually going to put in 4 illusionary misplacements. Gives me 1 less space to move, but it's still the same speed. And it still lets me move and dodge or get me in position where I can use my range attack better. And I'm able to use that aura that I'm always having left over. So that's like a change that I've done. This is now like I've played this deck for a while now. I'm just realizing, I'm actually leaving all this aura on the table, right?
That's cool. And it's cool that you kind of use it for the same type of card. Like you swapped it for evasion. You're like, I'm good on evasion. I just not using the right resource.
Right. That's one of the things that's really good, is that there's usually something in a different resource cost that you can get to help. The other thing is looking at cards that sometimes are just too expensive, but if you have 30 cards left in your deck at the end of the game and you're losing, then put in some more expensive energy cards. Right? The blocks and what's the other one? Innovative covers draw you cards but are expensive. But if you have those resources at the end of the game, you might as well use it to prevent some damage, and get some more cards, hopefully gaining some advantage in the game that you're either winning or losing, depending on what it is.
Makes a lot of sense.
But
I'm always nervous about them too. So like, again, kind of good insight for me. I'm like genuinely learning of stuff, like, because I'm like, 7 cards for block. Like, why the hell why would I do that? I was like, well, if you have 20 cards at the end of the game, okay, all right, I guess I'll shut up.
All right, so let's build a deck.
All right, Sarah.
Joey's Sarah deck.
All right, Joe G, if you watch or watching later, this is what's coming at you whenever we schedule, assuming that we didn't just miss our window and we both got a loss.
So are we going to build on theme or a specific card?
Well, that's the thing.
I'm asking Joey, since we're building for Joey. My instincts with Sarah is we're gonna throw fighter off the table. That's my instincts.
There's nothing about Sarah that says, "Hey, I'm a fighter," right?
Well, we got that Swift Drain Attack 1, Will. We can't throw that away.
There's my win condition.
That Swift Drain
is Drain Attack 1.
Swift Drain Attack 1 is there for the moments when it's like, yeah, I got it. Yes.
All right. So looking at Sarah,
50 dancing streams, and then we're done. That's it.
I think you can build her multiple ways. My instincts is you can build Swarm, you can build Titan, you can probably build Control, and you can probably build Spellcaster.
I'm gonna say that I like the idea of Swarm because I love the idea of blood craving, and since that stupid chicken deck, I've started to appreciate the idea of cannibal decks.
Okay. Gaining some advantage over killing things, yeah.
Yeah, killing your own stuff. So I'm gonna say let's try it with Swarm.
I don't know what you're showing on screen. Do we have a Coliseum up?
Yeah, I got the Coliseum.
Okay.
up.
So I'm going to call out my instinctual swarm cards. I start from highest to down, and we're just going to throw them on the table. Is that a cool process for us?
Sounds good.
I'm cool.
All right, I'm gonna throw this wild ball out there. It is not necessarily a swarm card, but it also is electropheromones. Throw that on there for me.
Yes, I'm already a fan.
Baiduta Swarm, Bacteriophage, and lastly we have where's our Wing Delate. Those are usually our
spell
swarm.
Baiduta.
Oh, I didn't offer combo as an option.
Yeah, I was
You
gonna
want
say
combo?
you're
There is a
jumping.
Sarah combo.
You
There-
jumped.
All right,
you jumped
help
the
me
combo
understand
deck.
combo.
Hmm?
Help me
So
understand this combo.
there's a swarm combo deck.
Okay.
So
I was thinking
Pestilent
spellcaster.
Mycophore.
Yeah. Okay.
It's essentially you run a whole bunch of summons that have decay, and you run a whole bunch of Pestilent Mycophores. So you just play a whole bunch of Pestilent Mycophores on the back line and just send out all your decay summons. And if your opponent kills them, that's great. They'll trigger the summoning from the Pestilent Mycophores.
Mhm.
If they don't die, great. You're killing them with those summons that are slowly dying, and the summons will die themselves naturally, and you will get ones that way.
Okay. Lipsky, to answer your question, left hands, because of course we're gonna go Wheels Goes A. Wheels Goes A round. Raspberry lemon. Want something light. I'm also running out of beer. But we also have our baby shower in 2 weeks, so I gotta save like the good stuff. I gotta save the spice rack.
There you go. All right, I got the electric pheromones. We do a swarm. Are we doing the Joey? Do you want to do the combo thing, or do you want to just?
I'm gonna suggest we stay away from the combo personally.
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
just stick to swarm, and we'll pretend that part of my strategy is like cannibalism.
Okay,
That's
so we
fine.
have to do the swarm, electric pheromones. What was the other one there you wanted?
Did you get Wing Delate?
Wing Delate. Yeah.
Wing Delate's a fun one.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Wing Delay.
Anything else?
I think that's the high end swarm cards. Is there any you thinking
Call
of,
the
Will?
bones, but you're kind of in
Call
the bugs, right?
bones. Yeah, you could throw Call the Bones on there, but
But it's pretty much the same as the other ones.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
So those are your three summon swarm generating cards. And then from here, so if we look at our aura, we have aura. So Sarah has no energy reduction. So if we're looking at what we talked about last week, kind of a rough 80-20 rule where like you want 20% to be your least resource and then 80% to be your best resource. So 80% of her deck will be aura and then 20% will be energy, roughly speaking. And then we look at her ability. So the carrying feast, we're trying to use that a little bit where they gain either eating off your own summons or any summons, they'll gain a health.
Yeah. So do we want to narrow down the swarm base that we have right now, or do we want to build out just a core deck?
Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of the Call of the Bones for now. I'm gonna build out.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would build out. So looking at here, I'm kind of like a 4 electric pheromones off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I'm like a 4 maybe on the Fiduta Swarm, and then probably a 10 on the Wing Delate.
I kind of agree with you there. I would agree.
Right, that gives you 18 cards, so you still have another 32 left. So, but that's where I'm thinking at the beginning.
No, I'm down with that. I'm feeling that. How you feeling, Joey?
I like it. All the ants, all the time.
So one of the things about swarm decks is that you can hopefully your swarm will allow you to not need area of effect spells because it's probably going to wipe out your things, but also your 1/1 should block anything on the ground. Now, as far as flight goes, things like Kun or things that fly over top will ignore your swarm in some cases.
I mean, that feels pretty niche. So I feel like I would do stuff like in sideboard for something like
There
that.
you go. Yep.
Yep.
Perfect.
All right. So from here, we know our core concept. Do we want to fill out our chi, or do we want to continue swarm support cards? Do we want any Breath of Jalaras?
Yeah, I was going to suggest Breath of Jalara as an option, or a River of Knee, but I think River of Knee is a little bit too slow for Sarah because given
Yeah.
the health, whereas the
Yeah.
breath.
Yeah, given I
will
want to
give-
cannibalize also, I feel like that river is going to backfire on me a little bit.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to use these breaths more as a defensive, protective sort of thing, less of a when you're going to actually eat your own things, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It gives Sarah a little bit of health, a little bit of benefit there as well too, so that's pretty good. The low health is still always a concern for me, so I mean, depending on how swingy or how aggressive we want to go, like I am still a fan of the Malefic Impalement.
I was going to suggest that later on when we got to looking at everything.
Yeah,
When you say like low health, you're talking like low health for the summons, or are you saying it's like
For
maybe
her.
Sarah's a bit low?
Sarah's
Yeah.
starting health is 18. So your biggest threat is just people coming in to beat on you.
I mean, would something like so I would think of like would something like that like be cool with say a vampiric kiss or something? Like just eat my own, power myself up, give myself some time, or is that kind of a little bit like maybe I can do better with a better card?
Generally, we want to aim to do better. You probably will be just drain attacking on some stuff early game, but I think
Early stage,
spending a card to do that is probably not the best way to go.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have 10 or 12 energy cards, you want them to be doing the exact thing that you need at all times, right? So Impalement can kill a huge threat from across the board, can shut down a big AoE spell, can win you the game.
Yeah.
Right? Something like a Oten, if we want to put that in, gives you out of a lot of different things. But
I kind of like the idea of Oten because it also gets me like in the way if I need to do a Malefic Impalement for somebody who's like just out of range.
the only concern with Oten that I have,
Oh, I have to be targeted. I'm sorry, that doesn't work.
you have to be targeted, and your summons will get in your way. Your swarm will affect you. So we may be looking at more like a protective or something
That's
else
true.
when we get there. So what are some of the other support cards other than Breath of Jalara that you have, Alex?
So Breath of Jalara is the number one support card.
Does
We're
the
in
most.
black, we're in purple green. Malefic Impalement being a negate card is a solid support card because you can do it from behind the swarms.
You're not really using a move together because your board's going to be big, right? You're going to have a lot of presence on the board.
Yeah.
So you're going to need to be prepared not to be able to move potentially.
And then lastly, you can always have a couple of them. Malicious Persuasions are always good.
Yeah, I was thinking about malicious.
It's not great with your 1/1s, but you can still do your wing delates. But I think that's really it for support in this deck with these colors.
Yeah, this is now focusing more on the 1/1 swarms, right?
Yeah.
Kind of going through cards.
Yeah, I know.
I don't have them all memorized.
All right, 18 more cards to go. We are looking at still a good chunk of cards. We have close to our energy cap. Trying to think if there's anything. I'm trying to think if is there a decent trap?
I like the Phage trap. I am a big fan of it. We don't have much.
Cloud?
Spore Cloud. It's a solid one.
Spore Cloud.
Especially with warp strikes. People love the warp strike stuff.
Like shove it, Nubia. Stupid Chrono Walker crap.
It's also energy, which we need to, fill some energy slots.
I do like the idea of Spore Cloud.
I wouldn't do a crazy amount, but definitely a couple. I should probably pull up the YouTube so I can actually see what you guys are looking at. I don't know what the deck looks like. I'm just going off.
I dropped myself to one monitor now, so like I'm pretty loaded on everything's kind of a mess on my screen.
So how about, are you a fan of recomposition if you want to get your spore, or if you want to get your swarm going, or if you need to get one of your other things? Do you like the recomposition, or is the health too low?
I was thinking about something like that, but I figure like
it's more, for me, it's more of a meme card than anything. I like it. I wouldn't put more than 2.
Well, we have 14 cards left and 30 chi open, so we're gonna have to do something.
We need to start doing our 3s. We should go down to our 3s. Let's get those Otens then.
I mean, I'm curious, like if you do something like recomposition really bad, like is there a problem instead looking like Underworld Knowledge? Is that just worse or?
No, I think we'll now that we're looking at threes, I always suggest a couple Underworld Knowledges.
And I guess also is like, is there a break that's valuable? I don't feel like there's a break that's valuable.
No, and you don't have enough life
Yeah.
for the breaks, the core to play them themselves.
Mhm.
And
And I'm too far back, so I don't really like my board's too locked up for like a Rhino deck or anything, and I'm nowhere near a burn break.
So where I'm at is we got Odin in there. Let me see. We got Odin. You just throwing all the zeros in. I think Odin's kind of our best 3-chi here because like the next best is recomposition and Underworld Knowledge, but we start with so low life that they're so risky to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
And you're not going to be able to do the only reason you could do the recomposition because you do have the drain. So like you could recomposition and then get that health back if you have a summon in front of you. But you're also not like, I mean, other than Feduda Swarm, you're not producing much on turn 1 other than the Winged Elates. Like turn 2 is when your swarm is going to start developing in this deck.
Yeah.
So unless there's a 4-chi, I guess that would be the Burna Verde. They're slow, but
Yeah, I mean
they're too slow.
Because I was looking at Rampa for like the double pairing. Because remember, right, Alex? I remember you saying like they both trigger if I had like Rondo.
They do, but we will never play Rompo while I'm around.
Rompo is rough because if you go to do the attack and kill it, usually something can kill it in response.
There is not much great for. The Burna Verde is there. It's a swarm summon, but it's a really slow summon, which is awkward because you should already have turn advantage.
Yeah, God, I would hope so.
So then your other options like are going some like techie cards, like a short signals or something. You could do the Yamaduda if your swarms are dying. You could bring back a Yamaduda quick beckon at the end.
So I myself would just be juicing up the decent threes we already have. I would throw the 2 recompositions in just because we can. Bring the Odin up to maybe 5.
Is there any value in something like a Foreboding Tombstone or something? Just to like, my swarm's going crazy. I might as well try to slow you down.
Sideboard, probably.
Yeah, I could see it in the sideboard. So we need 7 cards. Let's cut an 8.
Which
do we want to cut an 8? Let's cut an Electro Pheromones right now. Go down one of those. Just because of our aura is really high right now.
Yeah.
All right, now we have 8 cards to go. It still doesn't work. Yeah. No,
we're probably too high on the. We have to go down a few of like we're pretty a high end here, so
yeah,
which is not a problem.
It's not a problem yet.
The problem is that with the 4-chis that we have, we're not gonna get much.
Not
you go with
much
a squirrel.
Support, no.
Something cheap. Squirrels are cheap. You can go.
I mean, if life is constantly concerned, is something like Dancing Stream something worth it?
I was thinking about it, but would you rather play a Dancing Stream, which yes gains you 2 light straight, or just play an Innovative Cover, which while though being energy and is expensive on energy, it essentially gains you 3 life and draws you a card.
Yeah. Yeah, I see your point.
Right, and with that same line, we could use blocks, which is the 3-chi version, just to gain our chi. Your sides can technically be covered by your summons, so that they have to come from the front.
Now we do have some electric theme going on here as well.
I was going to suggest that too. We could put in 1 or 2 pillars. I don't like more than 2 pillars.
Yeah. I was also looking at the Bombardier Beetle, giving you a little bit of range on the lower end.
I would support the Beetle because we want more summons in the summon deck, the Swarm deck.
I like the range too on it. So
Yeah. I'm cool with beetles. Drop us 4.
Now, let me ask just real quick, because Alex, you were mentioning Titan.
Yeah.
I assume that like switches over to like caustics and just the big ones.
So you would have had choices. Well, we could just theory craft right now. You could have went caustics, looking caustic, Inferno Crawler, Beaumonts. We could have gone that route. I think I mentioned Bacteriophage. We could have done a Bacteriophage Swarm deck. That's also a big guy. You could have looked at Cackling Scavenger spell.
I know Andrew would be a fan of the Cackling Scavenger. If I remember right, that's I don't know if it's still his favorite card in the game. Cardboard, let me know.
Or Territorial Bala is also a good solid one.
All right, we're gonna throw the spore clouds into the sideboard here.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Makes sense.
Free up. So we have 7 cards at 20.
Okay. I thought that was his favorite.
Okay, so we need 7 cards.
So we're it's really in the 3 chi range that we need to. Our 4 chis are not going to be doing much here for us.
So let's look at this. Like I see in the 3s, it's a ton of utility. So is there a point where you just kind of look at like trying to find like small damage summons? You're like, this is fine. The swarm's going to do its job.
Not
like,
usually.
How do you pick what your balance is?
The small summons aren't as good nowadays, especially if we have the. One thing that's made me sad for a while is I really like the 2/1 summons in the 3 chi slot. There is no electric 2/1 summon. Unfortunately. That being said, we talked about adding some blocks, Will.
Oh, blocks?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the defense.
Do you still want the recomps and the blocks then, or would you rather have blocks over
No, we need both. We're pretty much only allowed to put 3 chis in at this point in the deck. Right, we need 4 cards with 11 chi, 3, 6, 9. So we're gonna have to downgrade a card at some spot, and then add 4 3s pretty much. For me, it's the electric pillar. It's cute. If you
I love pillars, using them as almost a psych out to get you in a direction maybe I want to stack more, because you'll stay away from the pillar. But also that's with no. So I have a lot of ways to bottleneck you around. But I always like that line of play of like putting you in a pillar kind of in the opposite direction I want you to be.
Sorry, I was trying to say just one pillar in Will.
Yeah, I got rid of them. I realized that.
Because with one pillar, we know we're never going to get a second one. And so we get to add an extra 4 chi and an extra 3 chi. I think we just add another beetle. Why not?
I like it. I like the range.
Recomp or Underworld? Probably just 2 Underworlds for recomp.
Yeah. Also because Underworld's less. It doesn't work well with Malefic.
Yeah. So there's your deck. Yeah. So we have 50, 250. We've got, let's look here. So energy, we have 5, 10, 13, 16 energy cards in the deck. And then, so that leaves you with 34 of the aura or non-aura cards.
We have 6 health cards.
We have 6 health cards though. So that gives you 18 aura cards.
20 aura cards.
I think his math's terrible, but we know what he was hoping to say.
We're shooting the demo. We're getting at the 40 card demo decks here. All
right. But now that we're here, we're not necessarily done because we can still tune this from where we're at. Like this is where our core was at. We have a lot of 3s. We could drop an electric pheromone and upgrade some cards. If we believe that the electro pheromone could go into the sideboard.
Potentially, yeah. You could have some extra ones there.
Yeah. Because we've already stated that we want to have lots and lots of summons out.
Mhm.
So it's good in the sense that, like, if you kill a bunch of 1/1s, you get them right back. So it actually doesn't hinder you. But we don't need to start there. But I think we'd rather have a bunch of 6 cheese.
If you go, yeah, electropheromones, you can go up a 6G, gives you 2 space of 2, right? So you can go
Yeah.
A
We can
3 to
bring
a 5 or
we can bring
4
a,
up to 6.
a 4 to a 6, which is, I think, way better. We don't have any 5s we want.
Yeah, we have our 1 pillar. That's pretty much it.
We have our 1 pillar.
So I got 4 breaths, 11 winged elates, 5 Feduda swarms, 2 pheromones, 3 impalements.
So Zog's asking the serious question here. I like what he's saying. He's like, why not just have only Malefics in the 6 cheese and our pheromones be sideboards?
You could do that too.
Mm.
Because your pheromones are really only if you come up across something big, right?
Well, it's not. I don't know if even anything is bids, right? It's like it's swarm clear, it's summon clear for yourself.
Mhm.
But you can just right now. Our goal is to have more summons than them, and
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're saying so if you did hit your own thing, you're getting something back anyway, so it's a net 0 on your board presence.
yeah. We are still technically energy is pretty low. 82. If you drew your every single energy card in your deck. 1.6.
Right, but I mean, I'm happy with the energy cards that we're running. I think are working towards. Right? We're gaining cards. We're preventing damage.
Yeah, no, the question I was saying was agreeing with Zog, where if not running any electropheromones and only running Malefics in the 8 slot right now.
Okay. So I could put like 4 of these in the sideboard then.
Yeah. Well, for him, his suggestion, which I think is a decent suggestion, was just 4 Malefics and have the 4 Electros in the sideboard, bringing us down another 8, allowing us to upgrade a lot of that lower stuff up again.
I like that. For some reason, I'm really comfortable with 4s in this game. Like a lot of things that are like in multiples of 4. Stupid magic.
Yeah, I'd go down and recomp into something bigger. Into I think breaths. We have low health.
So you go up a breath, you go up a couple beetles as well.
Yeah.
So now you're looking at 18 summons hitting the board plus your 5 Feduda swarms. And then you have the same 1 less energy, 1 less health, but you got 2 more beetles, right? So, and then you have the extra Breath of Jalar as well. So you're pretty split on cards as far as like your 18 summons. So you're not very, but that's because Feduda Swarm isn't counted as a summon, but it's also 5 summons when it comes out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've got a really good chance of drawing something that's going to give me a lot to work with.
Yeah, so if
Swarms or something that's going to create swarm.
So here's something that a lot of people don't look at, and I'm going to call this out now. So when we're looking at our deck, what is the dead cards? Because you do actually technically have a very dead hand on the off chance where you got all blocks, all Otens, and all malicious persuasions. Oof, that's a good hand.
Oof. Jesus. Wow. There we go. I like that one of
You're consistently getting something.
A good hand, decent hand.
Yeah.
But my instincts is saying let's switch out a malicious persuasion for 1 more beetle.
Go down to 2 persuasions, eh?
Yeah. It's just we don't have that many things to summon.
Yeah.
To save.
Potentially your malicious persuasion may not get your summon out, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So like won a game where you have a winged elite in front of you,
Yes, that's your
it.
best target.
That's
Is the
it.
winged elite. You could kind of bait that too. You could try to force them to come in, push it on top of them, and then you get a winged elite behind you, behind your opponent. It's pretty good, and it summons all around. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the Malefics as like, how do I use my swarm stuff to bottleneck you in a line where I can hit you with Malefic?
Yeah.
Like that's how I'm playing it out. I assume that's kind of why you have those two together anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
All right,
this looks pretty good.
This looks good. Should we look at some full thoughts?
So 4 thoughts we had. So right now we have 3 spore clouds and 4 electropheromones in the 4 thoughts. We have a total of 56 chi remaining in the 4 thoughts.
So I am thinking was the Wave of Deaths. While awkward with your swarm stuff itself, it's a really good sideboard card versus
Titans.
All right, so let me, as you're looking this through, let me ask, what are you trying to fill in here? Like,
so
what's the weakness? Like, is there a weakness that you're noticing, or is it just
okay. That's actually a good question, and we really should. So your ultimate weakness is just your health, is your starting health.
Yeah.
That if you're facing like an Idris Blitz deck, you're gonna have issues with just the fireballs and meteorites. Meteorites are gonna ruin you, no matter what. that is your weak point right there. Is just meteorites. So you need to. Your best bet is to Malefic impale them.
yeah, great.
I'm thinking mystical protections if you're worried about big spells.
Yeah, you're right. Mystical protection is probably the better protection.
You may not, because you're not gonna. So here's my thinking: if you're Breath of Jalaring your 1/1s, they're gonna die to AOE's anyways. So if you're facing a lot of AOE, just drop your Breath of Jalars, bring in the Mystic Protections, protect yourself, and then allow your summons to still, like, they won't gain as much value by wiping them out.
I can agree. I would agree.
This is real fast too. Like this would have to be tested, but
Subject.
the other thing is
I got a league to test this thing in, so I'll torture poor Joe with it. And
so the other thing is
next
that
week and be like, you guys suck.
So your spore clouds, you could probably put a few more in, because if you are facing Coon, you're gonna need that. And then that's maybe where you're for booting tombstones, you're probably better off with the spore cloud.
Yeah, I would agree. Spore cloud's just gonna be better. If they're going fast, you immediately take out your 2 persuasions and probably 3 beetles.
Yeah,
it's an easy sideboard. How are we doing on sideboard
we
points?
have 18 points left.
18 points.
So
we
it's
could
like
probably
it's a lot of
actually
like defense and
24, because
a lot of defense and protect my ass
in the sideboard. Yeah. The other thing would be if
in Electro
would be the tight, like something big comes down. So here's the how are you killing a tutorial Bala? Because your
very slowly.
Your deck is not. No, you
can drain one and your winged elites. Beetles can do 1 damage. Malefic Impalements.
Malefic Impalement would have to become a summon killer. Yeah. I'm trying to think.
How about I just scoop?
Scoop?
No, never scoop. So
there's
we
not
can put
much
those Wave of Deaths in. We can throw those Wave of Deaths in.
Yeah, we can
on
put
that
those in.
rare chance you're facing a Bala deck.
If you put 3 Wave of Deaths in, it gives you 1 3-chi in your sideboard. So 1 extra.
1 3-chi.
Or you just run 97 in your sideboard if you want.
No, never. Come on.
You go.
There's got to be a bad 3-chi that will fit perfectly here. Let me
bad 3-chi.
A bad 3-chi.
What's it? Jalaran Mist.
Perfect. I love it.
I think it's a 4-chi.
It's a 4-chi.
Can't even have it. A bite.
A bite, maybe a bite for that Valhalla, you know.
Or
that 1 damage, that extra damage.
Imp.
A bone elephant,
Illusion.
just for the memes.
Bone elephant. Just run 97. You're fine.
No, if that's the case, you just throw in an extra blocker Oten.
Yeah, just like get out of the way and then race them.
Yeah.
Yeah, put an extra Odin in there in case they're coming real fast.
Yeah, because the bear's taking a sweet time getting to me. So
Pretty good hand. I know
Alrighty.
I'm faster than you, but you'll see it. You'll see it eventually.
there we go. All left hooks. All left hook all the time.
Nice. All right.
Cool.
Well,
I like it. We're
that
gonna go
was
with
fun. I will send this over to you.
Thank you.
Uh,
I learned a ton there. Actually, I learned a lot on that one. I appreciate that. I gotta go back and watch the rest of them because I'm terrible. I don't get a chance to watch all this stuff, guys.
I don't know how the second one went. I wasn't really there.
The
No.
second one?
The second deck building episode.
Yeah, you were non-existent. But that's all right. We got through the math. Math is boring. Okay, I will send this over to Joey. So that's kind of wraps everything up. There.
I'll let
as
you
far
guys,
as deck
I'll let you guys know
building.
how it goes. I'll see if I can stream them.
Cool. Did you have anything you wanted to say on the delay front, or do you want to save that?
I mean, again, honestly, all right. So let's just do it that way. Say it doesn't become a long thing because I figure if we can sneak in a couple more minutes, it'd be cool to show off the template thing.
Yes. Right.
So regarding the delays, we've got a post. I'm gonna like make it easier to find. Right now, it's just kind of in the Discord. It's like in the Discord chat. So I'm gonna put it on the front of the webpage. For those of you who did miss it, Invasion is sadly delayed until Q3. Essentially, we just Funny and closing sucks. They were a distro. They were a distro to distro partner. Having them close down and basically say you guys have a month and a half to figure your life out was rough because they handled a lot of our distro relationships, or they handled distro relationships. So now we kind of got to start those from scratch, and we have to look at them worldwide. So the last thing we want is to like make this product and have it nowhere to go. And we know that if you have a product with nowhere to go, they put it outside. Like they'll just put it outside. So that sucks. So with that, we're much more interested. Like, let's just do the darn thing right. Silver lining from my perspective, which is like, I'll admit it's a little bit of a reach, kind of, sort of, but we have so many new stores that have been latching on. It kind of gives them a little bit more time to kind of get used to what's out there before we shock them into other things. So I do kind of like that. Like it is a little bit nice. It's a stretch of a silver lining. Let's own that, because I'm really excited about Invasion. Like I've seen it. Like I want this damn thing. But if anything, it gives us time to really nurture the relationships with like all of the new stores that we're getting, which we're getting a lot of them, as well as working on some other things. And it gives us a little bit more time to kind of make I've got some really spicy ideas for Invasion spoiler season that like I might be able to have some time to actually work out.
Okay.
Like I really want to make Invasion spoiler season something like special for the people who do that, which is a little bit more than like, here's a card, show it to everybody. I've got some ideas. I got some tricks in my sleeve.
I see.
But that is me reaching for a silver lining.
Right.
I own that. I would much rather have it come out when we want it to come out. But
And then just so everyone's aware, the Fun Again is basically, as you mentioned, handled getting your product to distributors, so you didn't have to. You didn't talk to distributors face to like at all. You just talked to Fun Again, and Fun Again did the legwork for you.
Yeah, I think that a big aspect that people don't actually know is, so all the distribution we ever had did not have contracts with Haunted Castle Gaming.
Right.
They had contracts with Fun Again. So now we have to make a contract with every single distribution now.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the one of the holders. Yeah.
Yep.
And that takes time, and then you have to navigate legalities.
Yeah.
So because it's Q3, and we know Q3 is getting very packed in the TCG world, is that a factor, or is that sort of just the nature of things?
Because we've been able to come to the market so low pressure, we haven't really gotten in the way of like other releases coming out. Like when you think about, when you have an issue of like a store getting stacked for releases, the first thing you're thinking about is like, I can't commit to like 4 cases of your product because that's the same weekend I got to commit $80,000 to Magic, or whatever the hell you got to spend nowadays for 2 boxes. But because we because of the different approaches that we have as far as like not really pressuring stores and not pressuring player bases into like 18, 24 boxes of product like right out of the gate. We've been pretty easy. It's been like pretty easy, but yeah, we can just kind of dabble with a couple boxes and build our community that way. I think the other thing that really helps is that we're not trying to overtake other TCGs. So it's not like we're actually trying to steal away like Magic communities really hard. So like they are juggling the Magic community that's leaving versus the Genesis community that's coming in. So
Right.
I don't see it being that big of an issue for kind of that reason. And that's actually one of the beauties also of like Direct, of how big do you kind of want to go in? And we'll give you guys time. Like we'll give you time. One of the things you think about, especially with distro, also is when you have like those bigger games where you're looking at those pre-orders, you're worried about those initial allocations, just because there is a likelihood that a distro will run out. We don't really have that problem. So you'd be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to get a couple boxes for the people I know I'm going to get, and then I'll see you like next week once I recoup my expenses from like the Magic release. We have the benefit of doing that. It's been great for the conversations. So I'm not terribly worried about being stacked.
Okay.
Hasn't come up yet.
So Q3 gets you basically July, August, September, sometime in that vein. So very similar to when Origins was released. It came out in June, but
yeah. It says for us, HTC invented the idea of direct-to-consumer models in LCG, fits the 1 year. Sid seems to believe in is best for the game. I don't know if Alex, you guys have talked about it. I have my own thoughts on LCG because it's a very different buyer behavior model.
It would not help in the least. I've heard this story before. Mm-hmm. Production does not change whether we are an LCG or a TCG.
True.
That's it. End of story. Us switching to an LCG wouldn't change anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
our issue right now is the distribution. That's all.
I see the positives with definitely see the positive with an LCG because it's always like the accessibility, and we've as a company have always been like accessibility and ease of entry and game first, and LCGs, those are like their pillars. I think one of the big challenges with an LCG is you have to figure out how the heck to keep your audience engaged consistently, so they're going to come back every couple of months. And that's when you start getting in the way. Like now I'm getting in the way of like events. Now I'm getting in the way of releases because I need you there. And in order for me to stay profitable, I need that retention rate to stay high. And then I need to actually grow on top of it. Because think of an LCG like a subscription service.
Yeah.
It's a subscription service. I'm getting a lot less money from you. I need like 95% of your audience to stick around from set to set. And I need to grow like 10%, 15% every set so I can be sustained. And if not, I lose money every set.
Right. But I think one of the implications of switching the models would be that your larger sets could be broken into smaller sections or smaller deviations, right? Either in the like decks or in like a small set for everybody, like kind of thing. Like you would have a bit more room, right? So let's say you take a 150 card TCG set, you switch that model, you might get 3 sets of 50 cards and a few decks pre-built or something like that.
Yeah.
Like a Marvel Champions kind of releases a big set with some some whatever storylines to play through, but then they have their champion decks which come with extra cards.
So that's something I'm actually more pro. If we did a hybrid form where we had one of our sets is more of a you get everything, sort of like the starter decks. We made starter decks and they were all new and they were just self-contained, built so that they could be the best that they could be.
And you throw a few cards that don't belong to that deck or allow you to switch things out. And you kind of like, here's an Iblis deck, but we're throwing in some Chaos cards that are new, some Thymos cards that are new at the end, because that's what a Marvel Champions does. You'll have your deck that works, and then you have all the colors get 3 copies of another card that don't belong in that deck, but you can put them in something else. So then the players go, oh, I want that card that's in that champion deck, so I go buy that champion deck, and I might buy 3 copies of it because I need it for my 3 other decks.
That reminds me of Star Wars CCG. They leveraged that mechanic because they keep having to errata a card called Asteroid Sanctuary. So that's basically how they kept getting people the errata card. They did it like 3 times. No, I like the idea of hybrid. I like the idea of like more out of the box things, which is something that we've always struggled with. I'm going to counter directly the idea of failing to keep folks engaged as is. I actually very much disagree with that. I will agree it's failing to keep folks engaged online. And that's something we got to work on. And like, how in the world do we get the online community to help sustain that interest? But as far as like getting like stores coming in and referral stuff coming in and like the physical play, as far as like new shops and acquisition, we're not struggling too much.
And that is something that, I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there. We don't, as a community, don't hear about those things necessarily. I know you do post, you say this store comes in, but you know, it kind of gets lost in the news or the announcement side of things, where it's not really like, oh, how many stores? It's not like a ticker being like, oh, look, we have, 50 stores since January or something like that. The online thing, I mean, the game, it changes perspective so often. The community's like, oh, it's all in the Discord, and it's like, oh, there's nothing in the Discord, and it's like I can't keep track.
Yeah, like that is something I definitely want to try to work on. And like, how do I get it engaged a little bit more? Jordan, to your other point, like an LGS has no reason to carry Genesis because they can't make money off of one product a year. One, not even close to true.
Yeah.
Two, it's not like we're aiming for one set a year. Like that's not what we're trying. This is just a crap situation, but we'll figure it out. But the other thing from a talking to LGS perspective is that if you think profit is the only thing that drives them, that is so dead wrong.
Some stores will be very profit.
Some stores will be very, very product focused, but those are also the same ones that all I have to do is just get one of their customers to say, if you buy it, I'll buy it. And that's just easier. Being able to go into stores who are already like fed up with the TCG side and be like, we can be low pressure and we can tap into different things, and like we can focus on the product knowledge and the know-how, and be like, just the idea of the partnership has gotten us into more doors than look at how much money you're going to make off of Genesis. Man, that's a bad approach, because that's how you got a bunch of other crap games that are trapped on the shelf on there. That's just proof through execution. But Jordan, I am more than happy to chat with that one in person, because I think that becomes like, that is a much deeper conversation, really, where there's good arguments kind of on both sides, and like it's 625.
There is. It's going to snowball into a much lengthier conversation, which I think is still something that needs to be had. There is opinions and there is perspectives on both sides that can always gleam some sort of new hope or new way of looking at things. But there was one last thing that we wanted to announce, sort of to end off. Something that was pretty cool is Joey, take away. I'll just pop it up on the screen.
Yeah, so we formed a partnership. You guys are probably familiar with things like Card Conjurer and whatnot. And I know it's been asked a couple of times of being able to create like templated cards, or kind of like dream cards or your own stuff. And then you can have like a template that is just kind of builds a card. So we partnered up with very cool card games. He used to be Vintage CCG. He's out of the EU, and I totally forgot his name is because I'm terrible. But he's been working on a webpage, which I'll share in Discord and around the places, where you basically can fill out things. You can fill out card names and sub names and like the awareness and all of stuff, and then you hit submit, and it like generates a card image for you that is in a Genesis template. So it's still in kind of like semi beta. We'll call it like, it's still in welcome to Jalara phase, I guess.
Nice.
So, but yeah, it's so if you guys want to ever like make dream cards and pick your own things, make your own graphics. I do know like one of the stipulations with this is like, if you pick an image, it's like there's no editing and cropping, so you kind of got to like go to the exact size if you want to get like exactly what you have.
Good to know.
But that's why I shared you Teen Wolf like sized down. But my challenge to the community, because I know enough people have been talking about werewolves, is I want to see your werewolf cards.
There you go.
I want to see. I don't care if it's a champion. I don't care if it's a summon. I want werewolves. Let's see what you do. Let's see what you make.
There you go. That goes out to everyone. Make all your werewolf cards, because who knows? Maybe werewolves will come to Genesis. We've got vampires.
Actually, you know what I got? I got it. Let's have some real fun. I'm gonna add some stakes to it.
Some steaks?
I'm gonna add some stakes.
Grilled steaks?
March 14th. Okay. And I'll post this thing. I'll post it. I'll probably maybe either tomorrow and Thursday. There's a lot of things to kind of put out in the world. I want your best werewolves. And I want you guys to kind of help me out, because you guys have been doing all the pitch stuff. Pitch me a werewolf card. Best one. I will put together and send you a complete Bazin's House of Horrors set with playmat included.
There you go. Full.
So I will assemble it. And it'll be sleeves, and it will come with like packs so you guys can upgrade. And I'll send you a mat even with it. I will send you Bazin's House of Horrors complete because werewolves are kind of horror themed anyway. You guys have until the end of the month.
If you want to make me happy, just do summons. Don't give me a champion.
Yeah, Yaksha's already the best werewolf, so or wolf. Maybe it's a werewolf. I don't know. Oh, Jeff's excited. All right, it is 8:30 our time, and Alex has a meeting to get to.
Also.
Thanks everyone for watching. That's the end of our deck building series. I have an idea for new stuff going on. It might be even grittier and more detailed, but I haven't run.
Yeah, I actually gonna bring back because there was the Ask JC series that he wanted to do. I gotta bring that back and get that going. Talk to the game designers, which here we are talking to game designers, so whatever.
We got lots of things happening. The store championships are all about happening. Check out the website for more details and see if there's any near you. I know the preliminaries are going on right now. And then we also have Heads or Tails are doing their stream on Thursday. North of Exile, I think, is doing streams on Wednesdays.
That doesn't seem right. Maybe that seems right. Yeah, Wednesday seems right.
Or maybe it's Friday. I don't know. And Future League also happening on Fridays. So lots of things happening. So if you want to be involved, lots of ways to be involved.
And then I don't know if you said Tavern Brawlers, like
Tavern Brawlers is always going on monthly, and Thursday nights they do their like their locals. They have monthly
edit that in.
events.
And for those of you who are like not sure how the Tavern Brawler stuff works, like a league is you pay like $15 and you get like 3-4 rounds and you get like 4 days to play through a round. So it's not like you're stuck in like a night.
No. Yeah.
So if you're one of those like I don't know when I can play, when I can find time, that league is structured perfectly for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Joey, for joining Alex and I tonight, working through some of that deck building stuff and talking about delays and the unfortunate sides of business, which sometimes happen. But it's good to hear. Yeah, it's good to hear actual words and what's going on, and perspectives is always good as well.
I will get that link up. I'll get it in the Discord, and then I will also have it up on the site like shortly. I want to get the delay announcement today, and you guys will see access to that real soon. But I'll get that link in the Discord like right now, actually.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Cheers, everybody.